gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 21st, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, no rest for the weary, man. That was some road trip this weekend, some experience up there at Clemson. You know, sometimes you just watch and observe, and you're like, WTF, man, WTF. It's one of those seasons. It just is one of those seasons where like everything has just gone astray and every decision made seems questionable. And a lot of them end up blowing up in the faces of the coaches, and it just leads to another bad experience and a loss. And man, that one was a rough one. I guess I'll start with your overall general impressions of the Clemson game.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. WTF, you know, where's the Frank? I mean, Frank Ladson, he was a former Clemson guy. They gave him almost every rep. He was targeted once. WTF, where's the Frank? He's the guy. This was his game, bro. Like, he should have been ready for this. WTF. No, I was very frustrated watching that game. It's not, you know, I mean, technically we're not fans. We're reporters. We have our reporter hats on while we're covering the game. I know fans were demanding us post our thoughts on the message boards right after the game. We're trying to write game stories and interview people and type up stuff for you guys. And, you know, it almost like, it was like I needed a cooling off period after the game. I could not have really formulated an editorial response for 30 minutes after the game that would have been anything resembling sanity, because the truth is, as bad as this was, and it was way worse than 40-10, it should have probably been 63-3. That's really what the score was, except Clemson decided not to play for most of the second half, thankfully.
I don't think that's fair. I'll argue with you on that subject. I thought Miami's defense played very hard and was very engaged.
Oh, yeah, Miami's defense. They forced DJ to overthrow a wide open receiver for an interception by DJ Ivey. There was another stupid play that DJ made that was a turnover. I mean, these were mistakes by Clemson. Look, I'll give all the credit to Akeem Messidor in the world for getting sacks, but when Clemson's winning by that much, you know, they attempted a 60-yard field goal. I mean, they were just like messing around basically for the last 41 minutes of the game.
Didn't show a lot of respect. I'll agree with that. And
you know, the truth is they let Miami get a little closer than it should have been, you know. Within 16 points at one point in the fourth quarter. It should have been way more than that, in my opinion. You apparently disagree. Whatever. I thought the way Miami played, the defense was a little above average for an ACC team, a little above average, which is okay. And the offense looked like one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen in any college football game I've covered. They had open guys. The quarterback apparently decided to ignore the open players. Or throw it not too near them.
This is what we saw, Matt. It's what we saw in training camp. It's what I commented on, and that a few individuals that come onto our channels chose to come at me about last week, and it made me angrier and angrier watching that game because it was wrong. Okay. And I hope you guys are watching right now. What you did last week and the way that you questioned my analysis of the situation, which was from the heart, not, and it was from giving you guys accurate information. It was not, there were no extracurricular thoughts in there like some of you tried to suggest. And you were wrong. Okay. And I am pleading with you, please do not ever do that again, because Matt will tell you, we grind our butts off to try to help you guys maximize your fan experience. And like, we don't deserve that. Okay. And I will promise you that in the future, I will never be as understanding of it as I was this time. Okay, it was wrong what you guys did, and I'm addressing it directly because I'm hoping you're watching. Because what we saw in the game at Clemson, Matt, was exactly what we watched in spring and fall practice, and it just made me wonder what were I feel for these coaches because it made me wonder, like, what were they thinking? And I get it. Like, Jake Garcia has been horrendous this year. Okay. But like, you can't have 9 yards of offense in a half in a college football game. I mean, that is unbelievable. I mean, Ferman played Clemson, and what did they have, Matt? 350 yards?
I looked at it for another story. Another story I'm working on. The prior 4 games, Clemson gave up over 200 yards rushing in 2 of those games. They gave up 150 yards rushing last week to Louisville, and the other game against Duke, they gave up 126. And I think Miami had 20 rushing yards, 30 rushing yards, 24 carries. It's inexcusable.
I mean, it was totally inexcusable, and I'm just so confused. I mean, it's like, could it possibly have looked better in practice, and it just went haywire on game day? And this is the 3rd week in a row. I mean, look, you had 130 yards passing against Florida State, 130 yards passing against Georgia Tech, and I know the stat sheet in front of me right now, I think it was like 50 yards passing against Clemson yesterday. I mean, that is insanity. And then on top of it, they couldn't run the ball and didn't even get to 100 yards total offense for the game. I mean, just baffling. And then you look at the scores online of all the games yesterday. Matt, Georgia Tech went into North Carolina and beat them at North Carolina. Like, how do you explain anything that is taking place this season?
This happens every year. There's always, it seems like there's always upsets by teams that are considered really bad, which are really bad teams, actually, when another team's just not mentally prepared. Miami never seems to get those upsets. But the big picture is the big picture. And the big picture is, if people want to look back and second guess things, it's really easy to do at this point. Mario made mistakes. Mario clearly made mistakes. But you know what? Mario's smart enough that he will fix them, whereas in the past, those coaches did not try to fix things that they knew were wrong. At least I hope Mario's going to fix them, because it seems to you and I, Gary, from the outside, very clearly things need to be done to the roster, to the coaching staff. There needs to be a thorough overhaul, in my opinion, in both areas, quite honestly. I'm not going to mention coaches that need to go, but it seems fairly obvious on the offensive side, when you have the production we've seen, this cannot continue. And it's not one thing. You can't say, oh, the receivers weren't good enough. Oh, the offensive line wasn't good enough. A good coordinator can work around that. These are the same offensive linemen, for the most part, to start this season when the offense still was bad, that the last coordinator had. It wasn't different at the beginning of the year on the offensive line, and it still wasn't good. Something's not right. Mario has to put his finger on it and make the necessary changes. If he has to say goodbye to some of his friends, say goodbye to some of his friends. That's why he gets paid the money he's getting paid. We talked about this before, Mark Richt wouldn't fire his son. Al Golden wouldn't fire his best friend. If Al Golden had fired his best friend, by the way, and brought in a real defensive coordinator, he might still be coaching here. Like, that was a real chance to make this thing right. They had a great offense in those days. The defense was awful. And the defensive players were fine. It was the scheme, this bend but don't break Penn State scheme. Nobody wanted to play in it. Nobody was excited about it. I'm not going to go back in time. Point is, Mario, took too many just another guys in the roster in the portal, didn't recognize that this was not a year where he was going to win 10 games, overestimated the talent he had at various positions, including the offensive line, where he took 2 portal offensive linemen he clearly didn't need when he could do better in this cycle, and probably could have done better in the last cycle, just taking another recruit or, some other guy. I don't know, because we saw what John Dennis and Logan Sagapolo can do, and now they're basically on this roster until they graduate, and they're both young guys, because if you put them in the portal, they're done. Nobody's going to take them. Their career will be over. So, there were mistakes made, but there's plenty of loose fat on this roster. Get rid of 25 to 30 guys, which is what I keep hearing they're going to do. Bring in a bunch of free agents, bring in a bunch of top recruits, use NIL money to do both. And I was talking, actually, it was funny. I was talking to a lawyer yesterday. I don't want to be too long-winded, but a lawyer who's dealing with NIL deals at various programs. And, these collectives, it turns out, they are legitimately getting around the rules by forming some number and then a C, a 401c, a something C. I'm not a freaking lawyer.
501c3, like a charitable.
Whatever it is, it is a perfectly in the gray area that the NCAA left wide open for them to do. So these collectives are legit. These collectives are from, this lawyer, is sort of involved with a couple of different programs that have put together just massive amounts of money. And it's a problem for Miami when you just have one individual who's going up against, for instance, I think you mentioned.
Well, Miami's got a collective too now.
Not anything that I've heard of. That's, I heard the Moss brothers aren't involved.
That's by design. They don't want to be public.
Well, we'll see how much money they can put out there, because these are, former players in the NFL, just big time boosters who are just putting a fortune into these coffers and just waiting to spread it out in December. Like, we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg with some of the offers that are going to come, to any top recruits Miami's trying to get, so, and has on board. So that's a little worrisome. But yeah, if Miami has this, speak more about the collective, guy, because I don't know about any collective at Miami that has this tremendous amount of money. I've talked to plenty of boosters who are not in the collective, so I don't know what you're talking about. So
there is a collective.
So share it.
I do need to spend some more time on that, and I will. Now that the season's coming to a close, and we will write more about it, and let you guys know a little bit more what's going on. But there is a collective that's in place. How much money they've been able to raise, I don't know. I do know that there are some individuals that are going to be, partnering with them. So I will do more on that. I promise, and because I think we all need to know more about it at this point, especially now with December getting here, and it's nitty-gritty time, and there's going to be a lot of action here in the month of December. And I think what you're going to see as it pertains to Miami is they're going to have to prioritize who they go after and who they want. Like, no school is going to be able to just go get everybody. Okay. There's just not enough. There's not enough NIL budget in the kitty to do that. So there's some schools that are promising kids money that are going to have to retreat. And that's going to reopen those kids' recruitments up. Some kids' values are going to go up. Some aren't going to go up. And I think we saw one of those situations here this weekend, Matt, with a kid by the name of Nicholas Harbor, who's one of the top recruits in the country. He's an elite track athlete, and he's also looking for a massive NIL deal. And Miami was in the mix. And I think, honestly, a decision had to be made, for down the road. Like, we already have, I've heard that he wants to play tight end. He's a potential Olympic level track athlete. He wants to focus on track. And, are you going to eat up a massive amount of your NIL budget, even though this kid's an elite athlete, for a kid that you don't really even know what position he might play? And as it pertains to Miami, if he wants to be a tight end, well, you've already got 3 tight ends in the signing class that you like. I think that even though the way it was positioned was that he was replacing Miami on his visit list with Georgia, I think that, Miami also simultaneously didn't choose to engage very much in his recruitment because of the reasons that I just mentioned. And I'm giving this example because I think this is what you guys are going to see quite a bit here in the month of December. Right? I mean, you just, John Ruiz is not going to be able to offer NIL deals to every single kid. It's just not, it's just not reality. That when they get to Miami, that there's going to be the budget in place to do that. So, the schools are going to have to prioritize. And I think we're starting to see that, Matt. But let's clean up the game a little bit here. So, second play of the game, Restrepo breaks free. Everyone's been on Josh Gaddis. Gaddis has to be fired. He probably does have to. I mean, it's been a brutal year on offense. I mean, this is the worst I've seen a Miami offense look since Patrick Nix was the offensive coordinator in year 1 of Randy Shannon. And this is probably worse than that, quite frankly. And but it hasn't been worse than that the whole season. Like, there were moments, like, what I don't understand is how do you go from throwing for 500 yards against North Carolina, and I understand that was Tyler Van Dyke, to not being able to complete a pass against Clemson? Like, baffling, just baffling. And, is it the player's fault? No, not. I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's a joint fault. But like, if Ja'Cory Brown wasn't ready to be out there, and he clearly wasn't, then why was he out there when you had another alternative? Well, some might say, well, Jake Garcia is not ready to be out there either, and there's might be some truth to that. Jake Garcia has been a turnover machine when they've put him on the field, and I could see why the coaches were very, very reluctant to put him out there either. I mean, once he's out there, you saw the strip sack. Now, it wasn't his fault. Somebody turned loose a rusher and didn't do the proper pickup adjustments, and the guy came clean and beat the living daylights out of Jake. That wasn't his fault. I mean, you could say maybe he should have seen the guy out of the corner of his eye. He clearly didn't. But Matt, they probably would have been able to run at least a representative offense with Jake, a little bit more, representative offense with Jake than they were able to run, in that game yesterday. And like, I thought it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing for the program. I mean, it really, really was. And I don't think it'll cost them any commits, because the commits do seem solid and understand that they do have a lot of problems in the program right now. But man, that was a national television game on ESPN where you had 9 yards of offense in the first half. And by the second half, people's TVs are on to another channel. Like, that is the lasting memory that people were left of Miami football. That is a lot to overcome as you're getting ready to go out on the recruiting trail, Matt.
Look, it's just, I don't understand why people are so surprised sometimes by these things.
By 9 yards of offense and a half?
No, that's shocking. But I think people saw this coming. You knew what Josh Gaddis was going to run. He hasn't shown any proclivity to change what he does in any game this year. I know that Josh Gaddis every game actually does have plays that he schemes up that he thinks will work against the opponent.
He had one yesterday. It was the second play of the game.
Right.
They were coming out with sets with 4 or 5 receivers spreading out Clemson, and it worked. They got Restrepo uncovered down the field. Now, they didn't get the ball from point A to point B, but he abandoned that, Matt. I don't think I saw that more than one more time the whole rest of the game.
That had nothing to do with my point. I'm really done talking about Clemson. My point is this. For every game, like I said, not just Clemson, for every game this year, he's taken the time, as he should, this is a good thing, to come up with plays for that specific opponent. From what I've heard, it's a huge amount of plays that he comes up with. He is an attention to detail, like, I don't want to call him a crazy person, but crazy person. You know how crazy people are? Like, if you all work in cubicles, there's one guy who's more productive than everyone else. That's this guy. He doesn't need lunch. He doesn't need to go to sleep, whatever, man. He's just making a playbook for every opponent, going over the film, which is good for him. Good for him. But from what I hear from the outside, he's come up with so much stuff each week that it's overwhelming these offensive players, one of whom's a true freshman, one of whom's a redshirt freshman, all of whom are trying to learn what he wants in his offense for the first time this year based on 15 spring practices, whatever, I don't know how many in the fall, 30 fall practices, whatever it is. He threw an initial huge playbook at them compared to what they had a year ago under Rhett Lashley, who had a very small playbook. And now every week he's throwing another playbook at them that basically is a new Rhett Lashley playbook every single week. And these guys aren't putting in the time. It's clear. When you hear Mario Cristobal say how Cam Kinchens is alone in the building looking at film, why is he alone in the building? Why are you telling us that none of your players are studying film except for Cam Kinchens? I don't know why Mario wanted to tell us that last week, that none of his players seem to want to spend extra time around the coaches, around the building. That's not a good message. Like, he keeps telling me things I don't want to know. Stop telling me stuff, Mario. Okay? But if you're going to do that as the offensive coordinator, you had better make damn sure that every one of your offensive players is doing what Cam Kinchens does on defense and is in that office until midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. every single day, Sunday through Thursday, learning what they have to do because it's obvious on game day. They have no idea what the hell's going on out there.
No doubt, particularly the quarterbacks. I mean, that has been obvious that the quarterbacks, from a mental standpoint, have been really rough this year. Even Tyler early in the year, it wasn't until the North Carolina game that he really, really, really looked like the true Tyler Van Dyke that we're used to seeing. I mean, I don't know, man. It's been a frustrating one. But here's the good news, Canes fans. The last game of the season is upon us. Saturday at night at the Rock. It's senior night. Miami will be playing to go to a bowl game. How much can they muster? We asked them. I was at Clemson, and we asked the few players that were made available to us after the game, about that. Do they care enough? Does it matter to them? The seniors like Will Mallory said it absolutely does, and that they will be engaged on Saturday, try to win that game and get to a bowl. And I think it's easier to talk about, Matt, than it is to will yourself to do it. Next Saturday, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I have no predictions. I can't get a feel for it. But do you have any thoughts in that regard?
Of course. I don't think anyone wants to hear them. I really feel I should keep my mouth shut on this because fans are going to freak out.
I thought my voice gets high sometimes.
Fans are going to freak out with what I have to say.
Of course.
Fans are going to hate this. Mickey. They are going to hate this. They hate Matt. They hate Matt. They hate Matt. They hate Matt. That's what's going to happen if I tell you what I want to have happen for this bowl game, Gary. Do you sure?
Man, I want people to hate you.
All right, then I'll tell you what I want.
Go.
I want Miami to not have a bowl game. I don't want to say lose to Pittsburgh because I don't want them to lose. You never want them to lose their last game. It's nice for the seniors to go out on a winning note. But here's why I think it would be bad for the program to go to a bowl game. How about this? How about they win against Pittsburgh and decline a bowl game? That's what I want. I want them to kick the living heck out of Pittsburgh and then tell the world we're not going to a bowl game because we got a lot to fix. Because here's what I would like to see happen, okay? I would like for them, and everyone says, oh, the young guys need the 15 practices. If what they practiced all year is the results we're seeing, they don't need another 15 practices with this staff. Let's start over as soon as possible. Let's get rid of the roster before the portal opens, okay? Let's do a thorough evaluation. Instead of starting a game plan for a bowl opponent, figuring out who's going to do what, how many guys are healthy, and spending all that extra time on all this bowl stuff, let's hammer in right now before the portal opens on what we need, who we have to let go. Let them go now. Give them a heads up. Hey, get in the portal, man. Sorry, you're gone. Purge the roster, okay? Start finding replacement coaches without announcing them until after signing day, okay? But start that search now. Not having a bowl game, not having practice every day, going over film every day of practice for the coaches, preparing for an opponent, for whatever that early bowl game is going to be. That's a lot of hours when you add it up that Mario Cristobal would be otherwise engaged in something other than getting this program right for next year, the year after, and after that. I'm sick of this thing just being stuck in the sand. I want it just start over now. I would cancel the freaking Pittsburgh game if I had the power. I'd be like, no, let's just start this over now. I don't need to see this team play more games. I know what they are, okay? Nothing they can do against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh could turn it over 10 times and Miami could win by 100 points. I still know this team and this program is not good enough, nowhere near good enough. So let's do what needs to be done. Let Mario have the time to reevaluate everything now, before all the other coaches in this country. Get the plan together now, before every other coach in the country. Do what needs to be done now and get in the portal before every other coach in the country with evaluating all these guys who might go in and having all that extra time to do this. I mean, every second is valuable. Mario knows that. That's why he only sleeps for 180 seconds a year. It needs to be done. It needs to be done yesterday. And I don't need them spending their time and wasting their energy on a bowl game that probably won't end real well based on what I've seen. I'm sorry, man. So people can hate me, but that's just what I feel.
You notice I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, because you know I'm digging my own grave. I don't care. That's just how I feel.
It's because I agree with everything you just said. I don't think
fans will agree with that.
Go Matt.
Now I know I'm in trouble. Now I know this was a bad idea. I take it back. I want a bowl game because they need the 15 practices, man. Look how bad they were. They need the 15 practices. Any extra practice is so important.
No, you know what they need? They need to spend every waking second on talent acquisition, on the portal in both directions, and on traditional recruiting towards the December 21st signing day. And they need to spend every second on that. And they don't need to be worried about game planning for, Boise State or something in the Military Bowl, or whatever fate they would be given in the nondescript bowl game schedule of early December, probably.
By the way, do you think Mario would say we are not going to a bowl game? Do you think he wouldn't do that?
I'm not sure they will be able to field a team for a bowl game.
Well, but I think the ACC would probably force them to play in a bowl game just for the money.
I don't know that they would be able to field a team. I mean, if 20 to 30 kids are going to the portal,
they'll have a roster of 50 healthy people. I'm not going to say players.
I don't know that they will.
Some will be walk-ons, but they'll have 50 players they could throw out there,
I mean, if I'm a player and I'm going to the portal, I'm not playing in some BS bowl game. I'm out of here. I wouldn't be surprised if that exodus begins today. I mean, if you're going to the portal, why would you play against Pittsburgh?
So you think you think people just don't show up to practice today? Seriously?
Matt, look, who did we lose last week? We lost Frierson, and we lost. God, my mind's blank. There was another one we lost last week. They went to not Keyshawn Smith, but there was one more. I'm
going to let you struggle and not tell you.
No, tell me, because my mind's blank.
Could it be? I'll give you the initials. TF. Ring any bells?
Oh, right. Thad Franklin. Okay. Yes. Good. Okay. All right. So we already had a couple of them last week, and yes, this week there should be more, because if there's 20 more to come, which we agree there is no reason for those kids to play in the Pittsburgh game. Okay, you don't take a chance on getting hurt and diminishing your value in the portal to where nobody would want you, because now you're damaged goods. And on the flip side, if you did get hurt, you would be stuck on Miami's roster most likely, because they can't tell you to go to the portal if you're hurt, more than likely. I don't know what the exact rules are on that regard. So I'd be surprised if there's several guys this week that are done. I mean, to me, that makes total sense. But yes, I agree with you. The last thing this team needs is to go to a bowl game. It just serves no purpose. It's a waste of time having practices when people need to be spending their time on other things. All right, we got more to talk about.
Totally disagree with you. Just because I want to disagree, I don't care that you're just repeating what I said. I'm going to disagree with you anyway.
All right, we got a few more things to talk about today, but first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
Focus on your self-love. That helps a lot. If you know how to control your self-love, then you'll be fine.
You can overcome obstacles by having faith, just keep pushing and keep moving forward.
Dark times don't last, tough people do.
A word of encouragement would be resiliency, to keep going no matter what.
Be an adversity killer. Always fight through and keep pushing when you think it's tough.
Don't let no one prove you wrong, and you always got to prove yourself right.
Stay patient, keep working, stay persistent, and your time will come.
Pretty much
speechless. I hate that ad. I don't need that.
Stop making fun of it. It sums it up right there, Matt. You can't dispute anything in that spot.
I stopped listening after the self-love. I couldn't.
And you know what's amazing is they recorded that before the season. How about that?
I really wasn't paying any attention after the self-love, so I honestly don't even know what you're talking about. But I hear self-love.
Focus on your self-love. That helps a lot. If you know how to control your self-love, then you'll be fine.
You can overcome obstacles by having faith, you know, just keep pushing and keep moving forward.
Dark times don't last, tough people do.
A word of encouragement would be resiliency, to keep going no matter what.
Be an adversity killer. Always fight through and keep pushing when you think it's tough.
Don't let no one prove you wrong, and you always got to prove yourself right.
Stay patient, keep working, stay persistent, and your time will come.
You know what that tells me, obviously, Gary? I mean, I'm sure everyone's thinking the same thing I am, which is John Ruiz obviously saw this horrible season coming, and he wrote those lines for these players to say. Smart decision. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I don't think those players wrote those lines for themselves heading into the season.
I mean, isn't that kind of eerie how appropriate that entire commercial is that was filmed back in the summer?
Listen, Miami, the University of Miami should send gifts to every Miami Hurricanes fan this Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, because you guys have to have earned it, man. Like there is, I don't even know what gift would quantify the amount of pain and suffering. I mean, you probably could do a class action lawsuit right now with Miami Hurricanes fans against the Ibis and probably win his costume in court, because the pain and suffering and the amount of legitimate psychological trauma that has been endured by the Hurricanes nation this year has to be quantifiable in some respects. I mean, for instance, I went to the dentist. When was it? Last Friday, and they told me I had to get Invisalign because my teeth are all screwed up. And I said, well, what do I care that my teeth are screwed up? I'm married. My wife doesn't even look at me anymore. Who am I trying to impress? And they're like, no. They said, every time you bite down, you're causing trauma. I'm like, I'm causing trauma. I'm like, trauma on what? They're like, your gums. They're like, your gums are gonna be, a disaster. I said, well, I'll get a gum graft. It'll last the rest of my life. They said, no, it won't. We've seen people get gum grafts 3 years later. They need another gum graft because their teeth are causing trauma every time they bite. And let me tell you something. I would rather have 2 gum grafts, consistent toothal trauma, than have to watch the Miami Hurricanes play an extra game this season. I'm not even joking. I would rather have that happen than have to suffer through covering another 15 practices with this team, watch them run this offense at another bowl game. My head is ready to explode. Toothal trauma is better than Miami Hurricanes trauma for me. I'm sorry. And I'm sure a lot of other fans feel that way. It's painful. I mean, we had fans on the message boards, turning off the game in the first quarter. Has anyone ever, in a game against Clemson, in a game against Alabama, a game against Ohio State, who turns the TV off when the Miami Hurricanes are playing? This is what has happened.
How about the fans that went to Clemson, Matt, before the season? And there weren't a lot of them. I mean, a lot of them, I think, sold their tickets. There were not a lot of Canes fans there the other day. And it's a very hard trip. It's a hard place to get to. The travel is not easy. It's one of the tougher road trips that Miami takes just because of where it is and the logistics of getting there and all that. And there were not a lot of Canes fans there, and they had to sit through that. And I got to tell you something. I met these two. They're subscribers of ours, Matt. Brian and Jordan here. Let me show you these guys. So my hair was a little messy. I apologize, but this is Brian and his son Jordan. And every morning, Matt, they wake up and watch this show. Okay, and Jordan he's been on CaneSport.com since he was a little tyke. Brian was subscribing to CaneSport when we were a newspaper. Okay, and he reached out to us during the week and said, "Hey, I'm going to be at Clemson. I'd love to meet you guys." And so we met up before the game and we took a bunch of pictures and it was really, really cool. It was without question the highlight of my weekend. Seriously, I mean that sincerely. And I was thinking about these, Brian and Jordan after the game.
Let me just interject, Gary, because you should not be charging $50 for pictures with fans. It's not right, man. they've had a tough year, bro. Like, just do it for free once in a while, you know?
No, I mean, seriously, I was thinking about these poor guys. Like, they came from Missouri, Matt. They traveled from Missouri to go support the team that they love for an entire lifetime. Okay, both of them, dad and son. Son was born a Miami Hurricane fan, and you know they're passionate to the point where they listen to two idiots like us in the morning. I mean, it's like, and I couldn't be more appreciative of them for that. And I told them that, but it's
I
like
thought I told you last show you can't use the I word. You can't say it. Anything that was on the IQ spectrum back in the day that identified people as sub-intelligent, you can't use those words anymore.
But,
the R word is one of them. You can't use those words anymore.
Now you're screwing up my train of thought here. So
what? That's what I'm going for.
I'm kidding. But no, like these are your prototypical Canes fans, okay? They travel, they go to one game, okay, and they picked this game. They traveled from Missouri, and I'm telling you, you look like Tyler Van Dyke there.
I mean, I
working the shoulder. Another poor guy. He comes out, and Tyler. I'm getting off on tangents all over the place here, but Tyler Van Dyke had this game circled, for a long time, and he was there supporting his teammates. And they get to the stadium, and he comes out on the field with a medicine ball, and he's sitting there doing, shoulder exercises, trying to get his shoulder right, and flipping the medicine ball back to somebody, and just working his shoulder muscles. And then he did some light tosses, but he's just trying to get help.
By the way, do you not find it weird? Like, he's trying to prove to everybody that he's injured in rehab. Like, why are you doing that in the middle of the field? Like, isn't there a space or a place you could do it privately instead of doing it in front of everyone?
I don't think there was any intent.
I know, but that's just weird, man. Like,
I know.
Have you ever, we've covered this team for how many years? You for 140, me for 25. I've never seen a player rehab before a game on the field with a trainer. Never, ever, ever have I ever.
I'd have to think about whether I've ever seen it before, but it was unique.
I'm going to tell you right now, you have not.
That's why I did film it, and it was, I put it up on our Twitter. And
when it's never happened in 25 years, that's weird. That's the definition of weird.
But before I started feeling sorry for Brian and Jordan, I was feeling sorry for Tyler Van Dyke, because I know how much he really wanted to be out there with his teammates.
Yeah.
And
he gutted it out that first game he played. 90% of quarterbacks would have been in so much pain that they would say, coach, I can't do it, but he gave it a shot. So he tried, man. I mean, I happen to know what his injury is. It's not something that's pleasant to play through. Hard to make it worse than it is. It can get worse, but hard to make it worse, which is why he was cleared. But it takes 6 to 8 weeks really of rehab to get back, and then you got to get strength back. It's a long process, and maybe he'll try to play, against Pittsburgh, just because technically he probably can without making it worse, but it's going to be painful. He's not going to, they can shoot him up all they want. He's not going to be able to throw right. I don't think he should play or would play, but I think if he said, hey, I'm going to give it a try, I can't imagine that Josh Gaddis and Mario Cristobal would say, no, we're good with Ja'Cory and Jake. You just rest. Like, if Tyler comes in tomorrow and he's cleared and says, I'll just try, coach, they'll be like, great, you're the starter. Like, I have no doubt. So,
I'd be very surprised if he tries to.
I don't think he should, by the way. But yeah, I would be surprised too. But if he came to coaches, they'd say, okay. I
mean, it just makes no sense.
Listen, the injury didn't get any worse or any different than it was when he played hurt, right? When he was cleared, because it couldn't get much worse than it was. It's the same now as it was then. So technically he could try again and just try to not throw at certain angles and just sort of force the ball out there somewhat sidearmed instead of over the top, whatever. I mean, to me, it's stupidity. Can I still use that word, or is that an S word?
Let me see.
Whatever it is. That's award winning. Are you up for an Oscar nomination with that? I mean, what's the title of that film?
No, you know what? You know what that was? that was to get somebody angry who would say, and,
I mean, you should at least put it to like Cyndi Lauper music or something, something uplifting and sort of,
But I agree with you. It was unusual, which is why I filmed 13 seconds of it. I didn't want to sit there and film it for 5 minutes, I mean, but I filmed a little snippet of it so that we could show it. And yeah, I mean, I felt for him before I, started feeling bad for Brian and Jordan. But
by the way, the title of that short film is called "Creepy Reporter Stalks Quarterback." In case you guys are looking for it in the nominations.
No, I mean, I was sitting there talking to people on, over there by, and I just saw it and I said, let me film a few seconds of this, whatever. But I really felt bad for Tyler at that moment because I knew how much he really wanted to play in that game. But by the time nightfall came and we all sat through that 3.5 hour experience, I was really feeling for for Brian and Jordan and the Canes fan, because like I said, these guys come from Missouri. And this is their one day a year. And I know another guy comes from Detroit to a couple games. He canceled and didn't come to the game. And this is lifestyle altering for the Canes fan. And this has been going on for many, many years. But I think this year is different because there were such high hopes that it would start to look different. And listen, it's gotten away from Mario, and I know what he's doing. And he is establishing a standard.
Wait a minute. What's the blueprint, Gary? What's the blueprint? Show me the blueprint.
He is establishing a standard and a foundation of what he wants the program to look like, and he is not concerned if there's residual damage this year. I don't think.
Wow. And the details you're giving are scintillating. Wait, let me write this down.
Well, I'm talking about in terms of what he's asking of. I'm talking about in terms of what he's asking of the players.
I know.
There's something goofy with your middle tooth there.
I got problems all over the place.
Smile for us. I want to see this. Wait a minute. There's like a black spot.
These are all crooked.
No,
I don't care.
There's like a black spot.
Listen, the good news is this detracts from any problems with my teeth. No one's even going to notice the teeth. They have to get past this first, okay? It doesn't matter. That's what I tried to tell the dentist. I'm like, nobody cares about my teeth. I got to fix this first, bro. Fix my face, then maybe I'll fix my teeth.
But yeah, man, these kids, a lot of them, there's one game that they, that they circle, whatever they go, and you go through all that. And to watch, 9 yards of total offense in the first half, how it's just so deflating and makes people so sad. And it's like, listen, like Matt says, this is why they don't need to go to a bowl game. Okay. Every waking minute in these next 3-4 weeks needs to be spent deciding who's going to stay on the roster and then who is going to come onto the roster, both in traditional recruiting and in the transfer portal. And anything that detracts from that, anything that distracts from that, and of course, Mario's got coaching decisions to make and everything else, no rest for the weary there, of course, is not a good thing. And, hey, I think you are looking at every corner of the United States to see who you can bring onto this team. Even this guy, Matt, remember this guy?
As sad as it is,
I bet that guy would have picked up the blitz. I bet you Jake wouldn't have got a strip sack if he was playing left tackle.
I mean, it's a sad situation when what you think of with Aaron Feld right now is these ridiculous videos he makes, and then it's a clown show on the field. Physically for this team, it's not a good look. I wish he, just like some of the stuff that a former president, who I won't mention, it could be, some very, very old president, maybe not. Some of the comments he made on social media or, in the Pony Express letters, they should probably just keep it to yourself. I don't love this persona that Ehrenfeld has out on social media because it's like it is sort of clowning.
He's not able to back it up right now. Is what you're
and being
saying.
silly. And when this happens on the field, it's like having a turnover chain when you're losing 40-0 and you have this big party because you got a turnover. Like, I hope Mario says to him, just focus on the weight room, man. Don't spend your time on social media anymore. Like, let's just fix everything. Like, I don't know what went wrong in the weight room. This was supposed to be a year-long, the Alabama program. This was not the Alabama program, man. This was the Alaska State program. And they need to get to the Alabama program because I didn't see any massive gains in speed or strength or overpowering anyone at the line of scrimmage. And I know that's what they want to do. And I know it's not an overnight process. You have to give him time. I'm not saying fire Ehrenfeld. No, he's a very, very good strength coach. But if they don't start making some physical strides in the next season or two, you can just say, man, this guy, they need a new one. Like, he has the pressure on him right now. He's got a year or two to get these guys bigger, faster, and stronger. And that's it. Because if he doesn't do it, they're all going down. Like, he is it. He's as important as Mario Cristobal to me. And if he's not right, they got a big, big problem. Because I know what Mario can do. I believe in Mario. Ehrenfeld, like, I know he's at Oregon or whatever. Like, I get it. And I know Mario thinks he's great and everything. But, like, I don't know the guy personally. He did one interview with me where I was not overly impressed because
he doesn't like media.
Because he hates the media, which, wasn't great for me either. Because, what's his personality like in the weight room? Is he like totally standoffish like that with players? I hope not. I don't know. If he doesn't like you, does he ignore you in the weight room? I don't know, because I'm an adult. There are people in this world that, believe it or not, Gary, I don't like. I actually do like you, 40% of the time. But there are people in this world I don't like, and the people I don't like, I don't give the time of day to. Now, that's amplified when you're a strength coach, because you're always stressed out. You're up at 4 a.m. You're like worn out all day long, 365 a year, especially when the team's like this. And especially when your boss is Mario Cristobal, who is very demanding, which is fine. But you have to pay so much attention to every single player on the team, even the guy who you think isn't trying enough. That's the guy who you have to work even harder with and make that bond with. And from what I saw of Ehrenfeld, he's not a guy who wants to bond with people he doesn't like. And that's a problem to me. He has to learn that skill, or this is not going to work, because there's going to be a lot of guys in this team that, based on what I've seen, he may think aren't trying hard enough. And if he's ignoring those guys instead of really trying to bring them along, that's not doing anyone any service.
Yeah. All right. So there's a few other things on the website today that I'll make note of. But obviously you have all our coverage from the weekend. If you missed any of it, make sure you check that out. Basketball was up at Mohegan Sun up in Connecticut for a tournament this weekend. They beat Providence 74-64, then hit a little bit of a wall the next day, Sunday, against Maryland, and dropped an 88-70 decision. They really got crushed inside, got beat up on the boards. We know that's their weakness. So this is the first time this season that it showed. And Jim Larinaga, during the course of the season, is going to have to figure out how he's going to deal with that when he plays a team that, is really good on the boards, because obviously, Miami, even though they scored 70 points, could not overcome it. Okay, we do have also a couple of recruiting stories of note on the website today. We catch up with Antoine Action Jackson, who reclassified from 2024 to 2023, the Miami Fort Lauderdale Dillard High School cornerback. And we talked to him about his official visit, which is set for the weekend of December 3rd. And Miami coaches are going to be trying to bring in his teammate, running back Christopher Johnson, for an official visit that weekend as well. They want to get a read early. Is Christopher Johnson going to be a Hurricane or not be a Hurricane? Because if not, Matt, they're going to have to move on to other running backs. Obviously, they're also trying to recruit Mark Fletcher. But, Action Jackson can help right now Miami in landing Chris Johnson.
Yeah, I think Chris will wind up visiting that weekend with him. But it's so important to really win in recruiting this cycle. It's so important. It would be, and it's going to be an interesting signing day, because it's either going to be great or a disaster come signing day, because either the NIL stuff's going to work out, and we know what Mario can do as a recruiter, or these other collectives are going to pounce in that final week before signing day and weekend before signing day, most likely. And there's going to be some crazy bad stuff that happens. So, I am cautiously optimistic. I know fans want to know, are the commits solid? Are we getting this guy? Are we getting that guy? It's impossible to tell. And in the past, we talked to family, we talked to coaches, we talked to tons of people. We have sources around the program, whatever, to find out what's going on with the recruit. But we don't know what collectives are going to do. We don't have sources of the Florida collective, the Florida State collective, who are telling us, oh, you wait, the day before signing day, we're offering Malik Bryant a $2 million 2-year contract. Like that, we don't know. And so anybody who tells you that so-and-so is solid, any player who tweets out, hey, I'm solid, all that is saying, by the way, when a player tweets out, I'm solid, to any school, not just Miami, all that's saying is up the offer, school X, school Y, and school Z, because otherwise I'm going there. That's just, it's a dog whistle or whatever those terms are in the political pundits use. That's all that is. And when you see that, I get worried about that recruit. There's no need for a Miami commit to be tweeting out, I'm solid. Like, we already know that, right? You're committed. Why are you tweeting out you're solid? Like, that's just saying to me, hey, everybody, show me the money. That's an old movie, but whatever.
All right, so we've got the Action Jackson story. We also have an update today with Joshua Horton. And Matt, this one's really interesting in that it looked like Miami had him flipped a couple weeks ago. He's the North Carolina commit from Fairburn, Georgia. Nice-looking defensive tackle prospect. And Miami's been on him now for several months. It looked like they had him flipped. He came down. He's been down, I think, twice for games. Well, he hasn't flipped and committed to Miami yet. And they are continuing to work that one very hard. And I guess now all efforts matter to try to get him to come down for an official visit in December as well.
In this instant, got to have the information now. Someone tweets out, major flip coming, which happened in this poor young man's case, whenever it was after the Duke game. And, and everyone's like, oh, who's the flip? And every message board blows up and then nothing happens, And I feel bad for fans because they get excited for nothing. But yeah, I do think, again, this is nothing he said on the record, but I do think he will wind up taking a visit or two, even though North Carolina told him not to. He's too good to where they're going to drop him if he takes a visit. I mean, give me a break. He'll talk to them at some point, figure something out. If he does indeed take a visit, an official will be to Miami. If he does take the official to Miami, I do think he winds up Miami Hurricane. If he doesn't wind up coming, that's going to basically mean that North Carolina found some money with their totally legal collective.
All right, and we're going to have a couple chances to hear from Mario Cristobal today. We'll have that on the website as the morning goes forward into the afternoon. We're also going to talk to Josh Gaddis today about that offensive performance at Clemson and see what he has to say about that. We'll talk to Kevin Steele. What did Clemson do that was giving his unit trouble, even though it did seem like they were playing very hard. Like Matt noted earlier in the show, it wasn't always effective. So I thank you so much. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us. Hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with YouTube.
Bye-bye.
If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please come join our community. We have an introductory special for $10, and your subscriptions allow us to do everything that we do every single day. So for the invisible Matt Shodell, we thank you for joining us once again, and have a great day, everybody.